Infernoid Burning Abyss deck profile, please. I want an Infernoid BA deck profile XD Winky Face. BA Infernoid Decklist. Bro, excellent video. I really dig the BA Infernoid deck. Can we please get a deck profile? An Infernoid Burning Abyss profile would be great. Exclamation point, super, hyper, nova, exclamation freaking point. All right, you guys get it. Okay, so YouTube, I never thought that you guys had a fiery passion or fiended for Infernoid so much. Get it? Fiery, because they're fire monsters and they're fiends. But seriously, in all seriousness, I'm bewildered. So many people requested the Burning Abyss Infernoid deck profile, and it's not that, that particular thing. I get deck requests all the freaking time. It's the fact that you guys requested this deck over one of the most iconic decks in my channel, which is Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, for the people that don't necessarily understand what I'm talking about, or just really interested in seeing Blue Eyes White Dragon versus Infernoid Burning Abyss, then click on that annotation. It's going to take you right to the video of Infernoid Burning Abyss versus Blue Eyes White Dragon. I really hope you guys enjoy that video. This video is going to give you, I'm going to give you guys a competitive Infernoid deck profile and why Infernoid can be so effective inside of this February 2018 format. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and Infernoid Onnochu, which means destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, you can probably Devyaty that back row or notification bell because we just too strong. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Infernoid deck profile for the February 2018 format. Alright guys, so a little bit before I get into this deck profile, I actually have to give a shout out to my man, Matt the Backwards One. He saw, or he posted, it was a pretty long conversation that we had, but he said, basically amongst the lines that I probably misled a couple of you guys to clicking on some of my videos and not clarifying what I meant by competitive. And basically what I mean competitive from now on, not every single one of my deck profiles will say competitive. I mean that the deck can either compete in a regional or YCS level event. Now I'm obviously going to give you guys the heads up before we proceed within the stats, and I'm going to try to do that consistently for every single video. Decks that are no longer competitive, or what I'd say local competitive, will no longer say competitive in the title. They will say epic because they're still freaking epic. So getting into this deck stats, the attack, oh yeah, breeze, it has 4 over 2,500 attack monsters that are just overpowering. It actually has more than 4, but still. The defense, still pretty good. The power is really good in this deck, but the real hindrance of this deck is this consistency. Not saying that the consistency of this particular deck is terrible, but Infernoid or any mill deck comes with the consequence of paying for consistency because you never can guarantee what you mill. So with all that said, I want to say that this deck is a regional competitive deck, meaning that it could, I think, very consistently top a regional event if enough people represented this deck. But don't be surprised, because I think that this deck could top a YCS, especially in this format where so many other decks can top. So starting off with the Infernoid monsters, 2 copies of Infernoid Devyaty, 2 copies of Infernoid Onnochu. Now, I'm going to be classifying my Infernoid monsters by their level, or you could just say their class. These are the mad high level Infernoid monsters. They still only require 3 Infernoid monsters to summon, and of course, all Infernoid monsters have the effect that you cannot summon these Infernoid monsters if you have monsters whose level or rank exceed the level 8, for the exception of Infernoid Decatron. But what these monsters do are essentially dark holes and heavy storms in their effects. Onnochu being able to destroy all monsters on the field when it's summoned, and Devyaty being able to destroy all spell and trap cards that are not Noid when it's summoned. Furthermore, these guys have some awesome effects. Onnochu being able to tribute monsters on your field to negate the activations or spell and trap cards and banish them, and Devyaty being able to tribute monsters on your side of the field to negate the activations of monster effects and banish them. So these guys are your powerhouses of the deck. They allow you to basically steamroll your opponent, but even more importantly, it's almost mandatory to run 2 of each copy, mainly because your first play is your Void Feast play, which sends these 2 monsters to your graveyard, and then your next play, the next play you want to do is Fusion Summon, which you want to use them for the deck for your Void Imagination. So playing less than 2 copies is probably suboptimal, and playing more than 2 of each copy is probably going to lead to a brick. So 2 of each is probably just fine for this deck. Now to the mid-level Infernoids. These monsters require 2 Infernoid monsters from your hand or graveyard to be summoned. Both the high level or the super high and the mid-level Infernoids can be summoned from your graveyard by banishing Infernoid monsters from your graveyard or your hand. And these mid-level monsters are 1 copy of Atando, 1 copy of Siesmas, and 1 copy of Infernoid Sjette. Now, these monsters have fallen out of favor as of recent inside of this particular build, mainly because you don't need so many copies of these. They'll clog, they'll get in your way, and they won't be able to perform the way you want them to, but they still have really good effects. Atando allows you to attack multiple monsters. Siesmas allows you to banish cards after it is at the end of the battle phase, and Jette's not that great. I mean, compared to these two guys, these guys are monsters. Jette's okay, he allows you to banish cards in your opponent's extra deck. But that's not the real reason why we play him. We play him because Void Feast makes us summon monsters that equal up to 8, and we can summon 2 Decatrons in Jett, and Jet's a level 6. That's literally the only reason why he's played. He wouldn't be played if there were other Infernoids that were 6 that had better effects. I'm just saying. But he's not bad. Being able to banish cards from your opponent's extra deck isn't completely terrible. There's worse Infernoids out there. There's that level 5 guy. Next, for the lower level Infernoids. Now, these monsters have the effect of banishing cards in your opponent's graveyard, but only during your turn, as opposed to the mid-level Infernoids being able to banish cards in your opponent's graveyard during either player's turn by tributing monsters. So 1 copy of Infernoid Patruela. This card isn't as important in this build, but it's still a pretty decent card because it allows you to destroy back row. The reason why it isn't so important is because it's a level 4 deck in a rank 3 centric deck, so it's not that great, but it's still great for getting rid of opponent's back row, and it has a pretty stocky attack. Next is 3 copies of Infernoid Harmadik. You guys know what I'm talking about. This card is really good. Probably one of the better Infernoid monsters because it does require a Infernoid monster. All the little guys require 1 to be summoned, but allows you to destroy a monster on your opponent's side of the field. The downside, he can't attack. So if you guys really want to consider that a downside, then go ahead. But more importantly, it is a level 3 monster, so it allows us to tutor 3s to our side of the field, rank 3s to our side of the field. Next is 2 copies of Infernoid Antonella. Now, this card isn't amazing, but it's pretty good, allowing you to bounce cards on your opponent's field to their hand. Pretty good. The only drawback is that it has to be face up. Still a pretty decent card. We don't run it for its effects. We run it because the next card I'm going to show you is Infernoid Decatron. Now, Decatron has a really weird effect compared to all the Infernoids. It can be normal summoned, and it can be special summoned through other card effects, unlike the other Infernoids. When it does, you can send in an Infernoid monster from your deck to your graveyard. This monster gains its level, and as well as effects. So the normal combo requires just 1 Harmadik and 1 Decatron. That does not sound right. Pause. What you would do is you normal summon the Decatron, send the Antra, use Decatron's effect to bounce an opponent's card, banish said Antra, summon a Harmadik to your side of the field, destroy an opponent's monster. Now you have a level 3 monster and another level 3 monster, make Dante and mill cards. And that's what this deck does so well, making Dante's, milling cards, and getting exactly what you need to your graveyard. That's it for the Infernoid monsters. I really wouldn't change anything inside of the Infernoid monsters. You run 16 of them, and I think every single one of them matters and their specific purpose. Next is on to the Burning Abyss monsters, and this is a really pivotal part of the deck, especially since this deck is so Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss centric. 3 copies of Skarm Malbrink of the Burning Abyss. Card is the nastiest card of the deck. Okay, it's not the nastiest card, but all Burning Abyss monsters have 2 different clauses. The first clause is they can be special summoned by controlling no spell and trap cards in your spell and trap card zone. The second clause is if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster, these monsters are immediately destroyed. So you have to trick them around your Infernoid monsters in order to get some really saucy plays, but it's so worth it. And all your Burning Abyss monsters in the main deck have a graveyard effect that when they're sent to the graveyard, they gain a certain effect. So when Skarm is in the graveyard during your end phase, you can search a Dark Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, so it's really good at tutoring your tour guide or your other important Burning Abyss monsters. Now, the next most important Burning Abyss card is Farfa, and Farfa is arguably the best Burning Abyss monster solo-wise. Like, I've seen decks just play 1 Farfa, and it's very warranted because when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish a card on your opponent's, or banish a monster on your opponent's side of the field into the end phase. Really good at clearing your opponent's board. If you're hitting an Xseed monster, it will lose its material once it comes back, and you can even hit your own monsters in your extra monster zone, and during the end phase, they'll come back to your main monster zone. So Farfa is a really important Burning Abyss monster. Next, we run 2 copies of Libic, or Labia. I think Labia and Harmadik, oh, they actually do work together so well. What Libic does is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Burning Abyss monster from your hand to your side of the field, but its effects are negated. Now that's a really good thing. Saying that the Burning Abyss effect monsters are not conditions, they're actually effects. When you special summon a Burning Abyss monster with its effect negated through Libic, you won't have your monster destroyed if you control another monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster. So it's pretty good for tricking off your Burning Abyss cards and your Inferno cards. And yes, I need to grow up by calling one card Hardik and one card Libya. I think I'm gonna grow up right now. I'm gonna stop with the profanity. Next is one copy of Seer. I'm not gonna stop with the profanity. What the fuck you thought this was? What Seer does is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon any of your Burning Abyss monsters in your graveyard to your side of the field. Now it works really well with Dante. You can loop the Dante Seer combo, continuously special summoning one another and adding the other one from your deck to your hand to keep a float board. One copy of Calcab. This card allows you to rid your opponent of your opponent's face downs. Alec allows you to negate your opponent's monster effects. And Graph is a one-card Deco Talker with Tour Guide of the Underworld. Really nasty card. Allows you to special summon your Burning Abyss monsters to your side of the field. And for those that are wondering what is that one-card Deco Talker, you're probably going to have to like this video up. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes. That's all I need, 100 likes, and I'll show you guys a combo tutorial which has that combo and a whole bunch of other sauce. And then lastly is one copy of Barbar. To be honest, Barbar was the missing link for the entirety of me playtesting this deck because I really had a hard time abusing the fact that my Burning Abyss monsters were great monsters, but there were times where I needed one of every name. I'll explain that a little later, and Barbar actually helps me fix that by banishing extra names and inflicting damage to my opponent, and it actually is a great card when going into time. So that's it for the Burning Abyss monsters. A little bit of info on the Burning Abyss monsters. I prefer this over the Lightsworns. I prefer this over the Invoked variant. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, it allows me to play less than 60 cards. I feel like if you're playing 40 card Infernoid, you're gonna have to be playing some really saucy stuff in order for you to manage and be able to gain as many resources, where the Burning Abyss monsters, they allow you to play over 40 cards and still mill a crap ton of cards from your deck to your graveyard, almost like you're playing 60 card and still like you're playing 40 card. The next thing is that I feel that if you're playing Lightsworn Infernoid, you might as well just play Lightsworn. Seriously, think about it. You're gonna run your Solar Recharges, your Raidens, and your Wolves, and sometimes they break, and they're really terrible bricks to have Raidens in your hand and then open the Solar Recharge, and now you have to Solar Recharge a Raiden, which you can't summon to get more cards, or you have to charge your Light Brigade. Well, I'm sorry, the first one really wasn't a brick, but you have to charge your Light Brigade into a Wolf and hope to get the Solar Recharge like that. Just play Lightsworn, seriously. Lightsworn's really good by itself right now, but the Infernoid monsters work so well with the Burning Abyss monsters, and they mesh really well, them being Fiend monsters, being able to make Dante. It was just too hard to ignore. The next thing is the Invoked build, which brings me back to my Lightsworn problem, because you have to play Lightsworns in your Infernoid Invoked build to get the engine going, and granted, it does have better use of Fairy Tail Snow. This deck almost has no good use of Fairy Tail Snow, but it still has its problems with bricking. I think that this was the less brickiest build of the two while still staying in a competitive stance. So there is my opinion on Lightsworn and Invoked Infernoid if you guys wanted to hear it. If I had to choose between one, I'd probably go to Invoked Infernoid after Burning Abyss. But that's it for the Burning Abyss and Infernoid monsters. To help us mitigate the two, Fiendish Warrior Rhino while it's on the field. Our Fiend monsters cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Really good for our Burning Abyss because our Burning Abyss monsters won't destroy themselves while this monster is on the field. But even more importantly, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can send a Fiend monster. That means a Burning Abyss or an Inferno monster from your deck to your graveyard, which helps you tutor so many things. The next card that we play is 2 copies of Card Trooper, and Card Trooper is too freaking strong. There was a point in time where I was running a 40 card variant with Troop, Dupe, and Scoop. Seriously, 3 copies of Card Trooper, 3 copies of Machine Duplication. If you guys really want to look that up, I'm gonna put it on my Patreon. It was really fun. Competitive? No, but fun. What you would do is you summon Card Trooper, you Machine Duplication the Card Trooper to 2 more Card Troopers, and you mill 12 cards. 3 each through each Card Trooper, and then 2 to make a Dante to mill an additional 3 cards. It was savagely good, but unfortunately it didn't make the cut. Card Trooper did though, because when Card Trooper is destroyed by a Nuku, you get to draw a card. Card Trooper provides advantage, and more importantly, it's better than Raiden in almost every way. Raiden only mills 2 cards and can't make Dante. Well, Card Trooper mills 3 cards and can make Dante. So essentially, if you play your cards right with Card Trooper, it can troop you 6 cards instead of 3. Okay, I won't stop with the puns, but you guys gotta admit, that was pretty funny. Next is 1 copy of Tour Guide. This card is the 1 card Deco Talker, or at the very least, it can make you Beatrice and Underclock Taker. Again, let's get those likes up so we can get that deck pro or that combo tutorial. And then the card why Barbar is so important is Orbital Hydralander. This card's really good. So first of all, it can only be summoned by controlling 5 monsters in your graveyard or having at least 5 monsters in your graveyard, all with different names. That's why Barbar is so good in this deck, because the only monsters we have to worry about with different names is our Hand Traps, Card Trooper, and Fiendish Warrior Rhino. That's it. Furthermore, it's a Zodiac Trident. It's literally the most druggish card in the deck. You can send 3 cards from your deck to your graveyard to destroy 1 monster on the field. Or 1 card on the field. That's like drugs. That's literally the best card. Like, I wish I could play more and play more effectively. That's it for the monsters that we play. Other than our hand traps, we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I always come to you guys with those budget options. If you cannot afford Ash Blossoms and Joyous Spring, go ahead and play those Ghost Ogres and Snow Rabbits or Effect Veilers of your choice. That's it for the monsters, and as you guys can see, the monsters pretty much make up the deck. We actually run 8 spells. We run not a lot of spells, guys. I mean, we run 7 spells in 1 trap, and it's gonna be pretty fun to talk about it. 3 copies of Void Banishment. If you open this card, you're going, like, the odds of you winning is dramatically increased because you get to ditch a card from your hand to search Void Feast or Void Imagination, depending on your situation, and dominate the opponent, because both of those cards are really powerful in this game. 2 copies of Void Imagination. What this card does is allows you to fusion summon through your deck. Like, oh my god, and all your opponent has to do is play Yu-Gi-Oh!, which means have an extra deck monster, and it's just really good. Literally, this card might win you a game too, and it's not always because you get to, you know, fusion summon a fusion monster or summon plenty of Infernos to your side of the field. It's the fact that now you have Infernoid monsters to play with in your graveyard on top of those monsters that are just so overwhelming for the opponent. 1 copy of Foolish Burial for spot sending, and then 1 copy of 1-for-1 to wrap up the spells. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. TheCaliEffect. Oh, I'm sorry. The last card is Void Feast. My apologies. Before I start talking about the off cards, Void Feast plus Void Banishment. This is your win condition. You don't need more than 1 Void Feast. I've never needed to resolve more than 1 Void Feast. Like, never. If it gets milled off, I mean, I guess that's tough. But I didn't want to open multiple Void Feasts and be like, whoa. I mean, I guess I have Void Feast to Void Feast, or just have random Void Feasts later on into the game. So, back to what I was saying. You guys are probably like, TheCaliEffect, why not run Future Fusion? Why not run Fairy Tale Snow? Why not run those cards? Well, Fairy Tale Snow, really interesting for this deck. I'm going to place that right there. And the reason being is that Fairy Tale Snow is so hard to get off her effects. And reason being is because this deck isn't like Lightsworn. It isn't built to, when you get a great hand, you're going to mill like 50 million cards. This deck has a slow mill. Like, you're going to be able to mill every single turn slowly and gain advantage, gain advantage, gain advantage. And Fairy Tale Snow, more often than not, even if you have like a good graveyard, after its first banish, you're going to start banishing cards that you don't need. Now, it does work really well with Orbital Hydralander, but that's where the music stops for Fairy Tale Snow. It doesn't really work too well inside of this deck. I guess you guys can play it. The next card, and I'm pretty sure you guys are going to talk about, why not play Future Fusion? Future Fusion is very subpar. And this is the reason behind Future Fusion. Pendulum Magician is a deck. True Draco is a deck. Most decks are playing back row hate against those decks. So activating Future Fusion is probably going to wind up being a -1. Now, granted, if you do get to resolve Future Fusion's standby phase effect for you to dump Infernoid monsters from your deck to your graveyard, I don't see you losing that game ever. Like, seriously, it's that good. But at the same time, with Cosmic Cyclones, Purple Poison Magicians, True Draco spell cards, all that running around, the odds of you resolving Future Fusion, I just don't see it happening, especially with Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone, Typhoons, all those cards being really good cards. I just don't see it happening at all. And I think that it's a really bad card in that aspect where you have to wait a turn, and then more often than not, if you're just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! The regular way, if you're opening these cards, you're going to win anyways because you're going to be able to set up a board that you need. So that's my opinion on Future Fusion in both Fairy Tale Snow. There are probably some other cards that you guys are probably going to ask why I don't run down below. Go ahead and comment them down below in the description, and I'll be able to explain to you guys why I don't play those cards. So that's it for the main board at 46 cards. I really love the deck that it isn't necessarily 40 and it isn't necessarily 60, and I can kind of play around with what I need. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with the Exceeds. Beatrice is your star of the deck. Being able to send cards from your deck to your graveyard during either player's turn is nasty, and she also replaces herself if our opponent decides to get rid of her. 2 copies of Dante. I've never needed a third Dante. Even in Burning Abyss, I don't even ever think you need 3 Dantes anymore. It's always nice, I guess, to have 3 Dantes, but we don't have the room. Sending cards from your deck to your graveyard is what this deck does. I mean, like, you need your Burning Abyss monsters in your graveyard, you need your Inferno monsters in the graveyard, and Dante is your go-to Xseed monster. It's probably your go-to extra deck card. Now, we run 1 copy of Leviair, and if you guys saw the duel video, by the way, click on that annotation if you want to see it. Leviair is saucy because the first card that I look to banish after I use my Void Feast or after I get it in the graveyard is Decatron, because 2 level 3 monsters can make the Leviair. Leviair can bring back the Decatron, and then you can gain Decatron's effect to send a monster from your deck to your graveyard, and then gain the Decatron's effect again to whatever card you send, and then link summon with it. And now you're back to an empty board where you can summon more Infernoids. So Leviair is really good in my opinion. That's it for the X-Seeds. There were some really good X-Seed monsters. Breaksword's a great monster. Grample's a good monster, but I didn't think that they were better than what I'm playing right now. For the Link monsters, 1 copy of Sarjuya Skull Dread. If you guys can't afford it, Grample's, Breaksword, they're all pretty decent options, or even just more Links. Borolo Dragon, again, for you guys can't afford it, those cards are still out there. Sarjuya is going to unbrick a lot of great hands for you. You're going to need it. Like, there's going to be times where you don't play for like 10 games, and then it's going to be that one game where you're like, fuck, I need Sarjuya, or Sarjuya, I'm sorry. And you're going to summon it, and you're going to win because of it. Same thing with Borolo Dragon. There isn't going to be like too many games where you're going to need to summon them, but when you do, you're probably going to win the game because of it. Doolittle Chimera. This Doolittle Chimera does a lot. No? Alright, well, when this card is destroyed, it allows us to recurse an Infernoid monster, and more importantly, it gets Infernoid monsters off of the board to our graveyard. Under Clock Taker, this is when you guys got to use your Clock Management to manage your board. Alright, I gotta stop with the puns, but probably the card you're gonna often go into. It's a really good card to make, and it has the arrow pointing down, so you can use Burning Abyss monsters or Inferno monsters, make this, and then some of your Beatrice. Optimally, you want your Beatrice under your Underclock Taker instead of Beatrice in your extra monster zone itself. Decode Talker is also a really good card in this deck, because again, your Link monsters don't have a rank or a level, so they don't count towards the Infernoid limit, so you can spam these as much as you want to. That's it for the Link monsters and the X-Seed monsters. Now we're going to get to the fusions and synchros. For the fusions, 1 copy of Infernoid Tierra, you summon it, you're going to have a good time, because gaining its last effect to send cards from the extra deck, which you're going to send Elder Entity Intis and then a Cypher Lord Omega. The Intises are going to get you Destruction. The Omega is going to recurse any cards you want back into your deck or extra deck, be it respectively. And then you're just going to steamroll your opponent, because now you have a huge monster on the field that's going to help you dominate. Dante Pilgrim, this is the card that you summon when your Beatrice gets destroyed. And then to follow up with Synchros, 1 Cypher Lord Omega, you can Synchro summon into it, and it's a pretty good card because it allows you to tutor those cards back into your deck. And then that B-Rose Dragon, it's a really good card. I mean, I've Synchro summoned into it, destroyed fields, made people cry. So that's it for the extra deck. 1 card that I was really considering was Coral Dragon or the Dante Pilgrim, and I thought they were really awesome cards, but I didn't see a card that I would want to take out for those cards. For the side deck, 2 copies of Chaos Hunter, really good against Trickstar, good against the Mirror Match, good against any deck that banishes. 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. If you guys are playing the Ghost Ogres, run the Effect Veilers inside. If you guys are playing the Effect Veilers, run the Ghost Ogres inside. If you guys can't afford the Ghost Ogres, I do have another option for you guys, because I'm assuming you guys wouldn't be able to afford Evenly Matched either. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice, really good against decks that have like a lot of negation. So your opponent plays a negation, you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! They negate you, you go, nope, Forbidden Chalice, negate that negation, and then you start negating their negations to negate your negations, because, oh, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, isn't it? 3 copies of probably one of the most ironic cards in this deck. 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance, and this card's nasty good in this deck because you run 7 spells, so 7 cards that are affected by Spell Fragrance, and it's really good against Pendulum Magician. So if they make you go first, you Anti-Spell Fragrance that hoe. Now watch me, you. Next is 3 copies of Twin Twisters. It doesn't affect this deck at all to be able to discard cards to wipe your opponent's board, so that's a cool thing. And then lastly is 3 copies of Evenly Matched, because these other tubers lame. I ain't never evenly matched. And if you guys don't know what that is, then you're probably not a real TheCaliEffect fan. And if you are a real TheCaliEffect fan, then you just gotta listen to that Yugi rap. But for the people that were wondering, hey, TheCaliEffect, what do I do if I don't have, you know, evenly matched? So there's a couple of options. First of all, you can take out the evenly matched. You can run another Ogre, another Hunter, and another Forbidden Chalice. Or, like I said, if you couldn't afford these monsters, you take all of this out, you mainboard the Effect Veilers, and then you run Kaiju, 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 Slumber. Literally, just one of each Kaiju and then a Slumber. Because your opponent's going to play something, you Kaiju them, you get over the Kaiju through your Infernoid effects, then you Slumber them and you can search and do all that other stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. If you guys want to see that true dupe scoop, check out my Patreon. And for the people that can't afford it, don't worry. This one's actually on me. I'm going to be posting a lot more things on Patreon for everyone to see. And then, of course, those things for people that want to support the TheCaliEffect to see. Now, for as low as $1 a month, you guys can see those as well, whether it be deck profiles, probably some workout videos and stuff like that. Really hope you guys can help support me because, man, this shit is expensive, bro. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy your day. This deck, too strong.